Hi, so my name is Karen Campbell. I am the School Liaison Officer at the National College of Ireland. So my job is to do CAO talks and tell students about all the courses that we have on offer in NCI. So we do a number of programmes in business and computing, and we also have a degree in psychology and a new edition in childhood education and care. So the main things I always find I highlight with NCI is that we're not a private college. So we do accept SUSI funding for all of our CAO programmes, and we are part of the HERE and the DARE scheme as well. So the CAO deadline is getting closer. So it's the 1st of February is the first CAO deadline, and obviously it will reopen throughout the year, so students have right up to there's a change in mind time and that they can avail of from May up to July, so there's plenty of time to amend their CAO form. But just to highlight that for the mammies and the daddies that are here tonight, and I suppose a number of guidance counsellors hopefully are joining us as well, and they're aware of all of these deadline dates, but just to highlight that to somebody who maybe isn't too sure that there is a number of deadlines, and all that information is on the CAO website. So I suppose the main thing to highlight is that if we haven't done a virtual school visit for you at the moment, we are still taking bookings, so you can contact us. And for anybody who would like to find out more information about all the courses that we have on NCI, we do have it on our website, and we have recorded a virtual talk that's available on our YouTube channel as well. So I suppose I will pass you over to the careers team that are going to talk to you tonight. Just tell you a little bit of background about the college and what we do for our students, which I think is just fantastic. So I'll pass it over to Caroline, and Nicole will go through it as well. So I hope that you enjoy this evening. And again, like Teresa did mention, we do have a Q&A option, so you can obviously ask any questions throughout the night. You can drop it in the Q&A box. And again, you can follow up myself directly at any point. My name is Karen Campbell. I'm the School Liaison Officer at the National College of Ireland, and all the information about how to contact us is on our website. So yes, we'll pass over to Caroline.
Hi, you're mute, Caroline. Oh, am I okay now? Hi everyone, my name is Caroline Kennedy and I'm the Career Development Manager at National College of Ireland. So we've never done anything like this before, so I was trying to think about what I would like to know if one of my children were at the stage they were going to college, or if I was a guidance counsellor in a second level. So I hope I've hit the right mark. And we're really lucky as well that Nicole Greaves, one of our employer partners, has agreed to join us. And actually what makes it really special is that Nicole is one of our graduates as well. So I'll share my screen if that's okay. And, oh no, have I done this right? And now, is that coming up right? Can I ask, Karen? You're on mute.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, it's coming up now. We can see your slides.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so I'll get going, and I suppose any questions at all, just put them in the chat function and Karen and Teresa will feed them through to me. So as Karen said, we have 13 courses, CAO courses offered, and what I've done there is just given you the list of the courses so you have an idea of what's on offer. And also I just gave you the CAO points for last year, so you'd have an idea of the entry level for each of the courses. I suppose I'm an NCI now, God, quite a long time, 17 years, although it just really doesn't feel that way. But what I love about NCI, I think there's a few things. One is the approach. It's a small college, so we just finished doing our graduate outcomes for our class of 2019, which I'm going to share with you tonight. They were only finished yesterday. But we had about 500 graduates who graduated from level 8 degree and higher certificate courses. And I suppose what that means is that we have about 1,500, 1,200 full-time degree and higher cert students. And I think what that means is that students get a chance to be more than just a number. We know the students know their lecturers, they know the different people in the college, and it's really a nice place to come and make a mark. So, you know, one thing we'll talk about throughout the presentation is employability and the importance of getting involved. And I think in such a small college, you have an opportunity, if you want to set up a badminton society, you can absolutely do that and make a name for yourself. And that's something that I think is very nice. But look, I'm going to talk to you about careers, and Karen, you can keep me on track if I'm going off. So this is our careers team. There's 10 of us in the careers team, and what we do, I think that's maybe different to other colleges, is we each take a caseload. So each of us is a subject expert in whatever area it is that we're dealing with. So I, for example, deal with the accounting and HR students. Helen deals with the computing students. She deals with final year computing students, and Siobhan then deals with third year computing students and gets them a placement. Connor and Orla deal with part-time students only, but Jennifer deals with the marketing and psychology degree students, and Karina deals with the business students. And then we're supported by Amy and Joanna and John. So that's our team, and I think what makes our approach a bit different is we try to put an individual first approach, so we get to know the students. And you know, really at the end of the year, at the end of the 3 years, it would be very unlikely that a student would graduate without having met us. We've really good penetration rates in the class. Oh, I didn't check the. So over the years, I think we've been delighted and we've been recognised for the work we do with, you know, I suppose with a number of different national awards, and really all the awards were for similar things insofar as they all focused on the way we try to put the student first, and everything we do is to help the students build a network. And that's really what the awards over the years were for, was really for our individual first approach. So there's a really, I think it's interesting anyway, kind of quote from Peter Hawkins. And what he says is to be employed is to be at risk, and to be employable is to be secure. And as the world of work changes, it's important that all of us keep changing and developing, and that's something we really try to instill with the students. So this is the employability formula that we work on with our students. So, you know, 60,000 students graduate every year. And what we say to our students, and the premise that we work on, is that a degree really isn't enough any longer. You need to get involved in so many different things. So what makes a person employable is their qualifications, their degree, their work experience. And I think something that makes NCI students stand out to employers, and Nicole might mention this as well, is the fact that so many of our students work while they're in college. The vast majority of them have part-time jobs. So that's really important, but also relevant work experience obviously makes somebody more employable. And then skills, and you know, you can get those skills from your part-time work, from college, from clubs and societies. They're so important. And then 70% of jobs are gotten through networking. So a huge amount of the work we do in careers is on helping students build their contacts. And I'm hoping that over the course of the next few slides, we'll show you how we do that. So this then is just the graphical representation that we show our students when they come in to explain just what I went through with you there. But here are the different events that we do, just to give you a snapshot. So every year we do a roundtable networking session with our second year students. So what happens is usually we have 150 students, we bring in maybe 15 employers, and the employers go table to table every 10 minutes. And the idea behind that is that at the end of it, students get to hear about careers they may never have considered. They get to talk to employers they never spoke to before. And even now, although we're going to be obviously online at the moment, I was on today organising a session, and we have 300 students this year who want to take part. So I'm looking to get 36 employers in to do an online virtual networking session. But already this morning, you know, I've got 7 or 8. I only started looking for people this morning, and we've 7 or 8 employers who've said they'd love to take part. So everything we do is to help the students build a network. What we don't try to do is have an event where you go like this, for example, and you listen to a presentation. The idea is that at every stage, the students have a chance to meet somebody relevant to them. And I think the impact of that, and I'll talk about it in a minute, is that 25% of students got a job, of all undergraduate students, get a job with a company that came on campus. And 32% of our students get a job that we advertised. So I suppose another thing we do then is mock interview marathons. So this is where, for example, Hayes every year would send in 20 consultants, and they would do mock interviews with about 120 students. But we've loads of other companies that do that as well. Enterprise Rent Car do it, City, BDO, EY, and then a number of the different computing students or computing recruiters as well. Another thing we do, maybe that's a bit different, is a just-in-time careers fair. So we measure everything we do. And whereas we used to have fairs in September with all the other colleges, what we found then was that it was much more impactful to have a careers fair on the last week of term. So we only invite employers who are recruiting, and all of the final year students come, and there's a huge number of, I suppose, contacts and that are made that way that lead to job offers within the next month or two. So, the other thing then we do is a computing project showcase. So the fourth year computing students spend, oh God, 3 or 4 months of their final year doing a project. It's an end of year project. Citibank sponsor it and the winner gets about €3,000. And then we've a number of other employers sponsor it as well. But what makes the day really special is, say, when it was here on campus, the last one we ran, we'd 90 employers from 59 different companies. And so they come in, and there's a little picture of it there, and they just go and talk to the students one-on-one about their projects, what they've done. And again, that's a chance for the students to build their network. The marketing students then do something kind of similar, but we do that with Shopify. So the marketing students in their final year have to develop a product, and then they have to bring it to market, and they have to sell it on the Shopify commercial platform. And again, what we did there, it was actually a really nice night. We invited all their families in and did a huge project showcase. So that kind of gives you an insight into maybe the different career events that we run. So I keep talking and telling you about the companies that come on campus. So just to give you an idea of who they are, last year we had 92 companies came on campus to meet our students across all different sectors, and there's just a visual representation of them for you. And I suppose it's easy to be a busy fool, but what we try and do is measure the impact of everything that we do. So in terms of numbers, last year we would have delivered 124 classes and had 56 different employer events with 92 employers. But like I mentioned, a huge focus is on one-to-one appointments. So we would have had 1,600 one-to-one appointments, and we advertised 400 jobs. And at the end of that was the results I mentioned, which is that 32% of students in NCI, degree students, got a job that we advertised, and 25% got a job with a company that came on campus. So here, there's a few different things that we've built into the curriculum in recent years, and one of those is a career management module. So second year students now have the option to do a 12-week module as part of their degree programme on careers. And here's what a typical module would look like. You know, that we would do CVs, we do LinkedIn, we do interviews, we would do the MBTI personality profiling. We'd have a number of different employers in. We do the roundtable networking event. Enterprise Rent-A-Car again would usually come in and do a mock assessment centre with every student. Hayes would come in and do mock interviews. And other companies would come in and do CV reviews. And then each student would give a presentation at the end of it as well. So it's really, really practical. And students have to do this module if they want to do a work placement. Now, usually it's popular and about 150 students do it every year, but this year actually 300 students have chosen to do it. So I suppose that shows a sign of the times and how keen students are to get employment immediately after finishing college. So I'd imagine there's some of you who'll be interested in the School of Computing work placement, and in third year, students in the School of Computing have to do a work placement. So it's a 6-month placement. They do it from January or February until June or July. And the impact of it, I suppose, was when I was looking at the guys who graduated in 2019. And in June 2020, 24% of those were still working with the company. You know, they'd gone back to work with the company they completed their placement with. But what was interesting is 100% of the students who were employed were all employed in graduate level work once they'd done a placement. So the impact of a placement is so important. And just to give you an insight into the kind of companies that we place our students with, these are a sample of some of the companies that the IT students did their placements with last year, and there were 66 students did placements last year with these companies. So in the last 3 years then, Karen, I hope I'm not going too fast. You can just nod your head if I am.
You're doing well.
Okay. We have in the last 3 years, we've brought in work placement to the School of Business as well. So this is an elective, and the idea is that any student studying accounting, HR, marketing or business can, at the end of second year, if they've done the careers module, decide to do a work placement. And then they transfer to do a 4-year degree. So we haven't measured the impact of that yet, although I know the students and they're all working, but we won't report on them until June 2021. But again, the kind of places that those students are working in are below. And again, initial feedback from both the students and the companies is that they're really, really enjoying it. The companies, the feedback has been universally positive from both the students and the companies. And it's something that we're excited to scale up over the years. So something we're just starting to work on. You know, as the market becomes more difficult, I suppose we have to keep thinking of different ways that we can get our students to get an edge in the market. So this year we decided, look, we're going to try and offer an alumni mentoring program to all of our students who are interested. So we've rolled it out to HR so far this year, and we're just about to open it up to the accounting students as well and the other students. But we've said to final year students that if they would like a mentor, that we will go and find them an alumni mentor from within NCI. So there is the list of just a few of the mentors who said they're happy to do it. And the idea is that students will meet their mentor 3 times in February, March and April, and they'll have a chance there again to build their network, but to get an insight into actually what the world of work is like in an area that they're interested in, because it's entirely possible that these students, you know, maybe a HR student doesn't know anybody working in HR, and this will give them that first step. So we're excited, and we're going to roll that out now in February. So I was thinking then that what I would be interested in, I suppose, is specifically how do each course perform in the market. So I'm going to go through them briefly, but just to show you where they are. So the accounting and finance students, we have 34 graduates from there, 84%. So just to explain this, these students graduated in November 2019, and we analysed them in June 2020. And that's the same as every other college in the country. We all do our analysis 6 months to 9 months after graduation. So it measures a point in time, and it just shows you where these students were working on the 1st of June 2020. So 34 students graduated, 84% of them were in employment, and 16% have gone on to do a master's. And I think what's interesting there is often people might think, God, I wonder, are they all employed in, say, non-graduate level jobs in like as a waiter or a sales assistant or something they could have gotten without doing a degree. But actually, when we looked and we analysed that, we can see that 95% of them are working in jobs that need a degree. So most of them are working, 62% of them are working as trainee chartered accountants in, and I'll show you the list of firms in a minute. So they've gone on to do their professional accountancy exams. And it's important to mention here that these students get exemptions from the professional accounting exams. So 24% are working in financial services. This class are always really engaged, and 71% of them got a job through the careers, a job that we advertised in careers, and 43% of them got a job that with a company that came onto campus. So in terms of where they're working, here's a list of some of the companies that last year's graduates are working with. So BDO, Bank of Ireland, the Central Bank, Grant Thornton, JP Morgan, and on our website, actually, and I don't know, Karen might be able to share the link with you, we've got where every single graduate was working from 2010 to 2018. So these stats will go up for each student over the next month or two, but we've literally only finalised them, which is why I'm just sharing them with you tonight, but they're not on the website. But under the career section of the website, we have a first destination section, and that shows you where each class and how each class have performed from 2010 to 2018. And generally what we say is we're usually the number one in the Sunday Times list for employability. But we're usually number one, yeah, or number two maybe, but generally we do very, very well in the graduate jobs market. So the HR students then, there was 51 students graduated. So this just gives you, I suppose, an insight into the size of the classes. But 51 graduates from the HR class, 74% in employment, 23% in study, and 2% were looking for work. But 97% of those who were employed in a job that needed a degree. Again, most of them went on to do HR and recruitment, but what I would say to you is that 70% of employers don't really care what degree a student does. What they care is the results that they get, their work experience, and how involved they were in different things in college. So often, although actually for the HR and the accounting students, they tend to stay in that area, that doesn't mean that they have to, you know, they could go into anything really. But if just for whatever reason they tend to stay. But I thought I'd show you where they went on to study and what they went on to study. So some did go on to study HR, some went on to international relations, some went on to digital marketing, and some went to study in NCI, some Southampton, Trinity, and the University of Sydney. And actually this year now, for the 2020 graduates, because the market was difficult, NCI offered a 50% scholarship for students. So any NCI graduate or final year student could get 50% off the price of a master's. And it's just been confirmed again yesterday that they're going to offer that again this year to all final year students and alumni for the last few years. So I think that's something that will be very beneficial to students who don't want to graduate into working remotely. But 56% of those were working in a company that came on or in an ad, and 38% got a job through one of those events that I showed you that we did on campus. And then just to give you an insight into the kind of companies they're working with, again, you know, a really broad range of companies that they're employed with. So the business class is a bit bigger, and there was 155 students graduated from business. 81% in employment, 17% doing masters, 1% looking for work, and 1% not available. So again, huge numbers in graduate level work. I just showed you as well where they went on to further study, just so you could see the variety of places that they go to. And then 38% were employed in financial services. So these are the kind of companies they went to work with. So Enterprise Rent-A-Car, City, Ryanair, Bank of Ireland, the Tesco Graduate Programme, Accenture, the On Postgraduate Programme. So again, a wide variety of companies across a range of sectors. I didn't do that very well. Now, so the marketing students, there was 67 marketing graduates. 84% were in employment, 8% were doing further study, and 8% were looking for work. And again, 85% were employed in roles that needed a degree. So 39% of these went into sales and marketing roles, but actually an awful lot of them didn't. So they went into things like fraud analyst, customer solutions specialist, logistics engineer. One of them was working with Citibank as an operations analyst. So a variety of different roles. So just because you choose to do a degree in one area, it really doesn't mean that you're pigeonholed into that area at all. And again, I just wanted to show you the percentage of people who engaged with us and got jobs through the careers service. So again, here's a kind of just an overview of some of the companies that they were employed with. So the psychology degree then was again 67 graduates. Now a much higher number of psychology students go on to do further study. So I just wanted to show you the kind of masters that they go on to do. So some of them did applied psychology, clinical psychology, sport, exercise, performance psychology, developmental psychology. And again, on the bottom left there, I just gave you an idea of the different places they went on to do their masters. So I suppose a graduate in psychology, if they wanted to develop a career as a psychologist in the same way as an accountant, has to go on to do further study, so do the psychology students. Now, a lot of them did secure work, say, and I'll show you now on the next slide, with people like Peter McVerry's Trust, Focus Ireland, Jonex, and really they're working with those with a view to getting experience to get into a master's and develop their career as a psychologist. So here's a list of the kind of roles that they tended to be or the kind of companies they were working with. But probably the psychology course is the one where most go on to further study, generally. So the computing students again had 67 graduates, and 89% were in employment. And what was interesting there was 23% of them were working with companies that they did their placement with. And the vast majority of them, again, are working in IT related roles. And these then are the companies that they were working with. So Citibank, Amazon, Irish Life, Single Point. So we get a huge range of companies, mainly in the technology sector or the fintech banking sector. So the technology management degree then is always quite a small degree, and there was 8 graduates there. So I think the vast majority of them were in employment, and then one was going on to do further study, and 20% were stayed with the company they completed their placement with, and all of them who were working in graduate level roles, and all of them stayed working in IT as well. So I think that's there's the companies they're working with. But from my point of view, that's the information I've prepared to give you, and I'm very happy to take any questions. I don't know, should I pass over to Nicole first and then do questions after, or whatever Karen thinks, but I really hope that was helpful.
I think that what we might do is pass on to Nicole to keep the momentum going in relation to careers specifically. What I will do then is get Karen to ask some questions.
Brilliant.
No worries, Teresa, thanks for that. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're not falling asleep yet. I'm always conscious of the last person to speak. But I just firstly introduce myself. My name is Nicole Greaves, and I head up recruitment for Enterprise Rent-A-Car in Ireland. I've worked with Caroline now and the careers team there for a couple of years, and I absolutely love hiring NCI students. Now, obviously, I do have a bit of a soft spot for NCI because it's where I graduated from myself. And to kind of back up what Caroline said, you know, some of the things that students love about the college is it's very close-knit. So your lecturers will actually know you by your name, and the careers team too. So it's a drop-in office. The door is always open, and you can go in and actually find out where you should be or where you can go in your career. So it's fab in that sense. As an employer, I've done a lot of different events. Caroline brought up some of them there in her slides, but you know, things like mock interviews, networking sessions, they really go down a treat with students because they're having to interact, and it's kind of, you know, it's pushing them outside their comfort zone a little bit as well, which helps them prepare to speak to employers. And then another big thing for me with NCI is how they bring me in to do some on-campus interviews with their students. So instead of the student having to come into our office, we'll go to them, and that's something that Caroline and our team will actually set up for us. Easy for us as an employer to hire, but also easier for the student. I do find they're more comfortable in their own surroundings. And I think in terms of skills, for me, one of the big things when hiring students from NCI is one thing that we look for across the board is a strong work ethic, and that is something very hard to come across. It's also something very hard as a student to demonstrate, but I do find from interviewing NCI students, it's always one that they do very well in. And I think a big part of that is because a majority of them work part-time. They have different things going on outside of work as well, like hobbies and interests and societies. And it's one they do very well on when we go in to do those on-campus interviews. And I think you've probably seen it there from all of Caroline's stats. It's something NCI brag about, is how employable their students are. And I think it's fantastic because it's almost like the careers team are they're like a mini recruitment agency for the student, and they have that set out from the get-go. So I remember even as a student working on my CV in my second year, and my friends outside of NCI being calling me crazy for that, but I was so ready to go out and get a job. And actually I secured a job at Enterprise Rent a Car before I even graduated. So that is a big push from NCI as well, as to go and get your job before you graduate. But also I think, you know, for me, when I'm recruiting, I can just reach out to the team, let them know here's a job that we have open. They'll advertise it straight away and usually get us candidates. So very good relationship there, and you know, it's quite an easy process. We try and make the process as easy as we can then for NCI students. But I can't say it enough. It's all about the minute you step in there, you can see that their students are ready to go get work. And they do extremely well in any of the events that I've done or in the interview process itself. So we have a lot of NCI students working for Enterprise Rent a Car, and some of those students came from accountancy backgrounds or HR backgrounds. And I think Caroline touched on it a little bit as well. I think you need to remember that you shouldn't let your degree define you. You can change your mind. You know, it doesn't make a difference. What we look for is that you've dedicated a certain amount of time to that degree, and you also have something else outside of the degree, like part-time work. I think students that come to interview and are able to speak about their work and commercial experience, as opposed to just the group projects that they've worked on in college, is something that really stands out, and that's what NCI gets their students prepared for. You know, they're making sure that they're having a part-time job. If they don't have a part-time job, maybe it's voluntary work, but it's all about their CV from the minute they step into NCI, so that they're ready to get employed when they finish in final year. So again, I'm open to any questions, but I'll keep it short and sweet, you know, to give you my experience with the college. It's been fantastic, and I'm looking forward to what we can do in the future. Even though the pandemic has made it a little bit difficult for us, I'm sure there's plenty of virtual events that we can do going forward. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nicole. Nicole, I'm actually going to send Caroline live again, because I have a very specific question for you, Caroline. It's in relation to psychology graduates. Do they find it easy to gain a place in clinical psychology or educational psychology master's programs coming from NCI?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look there at the stats, there was 58 graduates and 15 went on to further study. And all of them, except for one who did HR, I think, went on to study masters in psychology. So it is difficult to, you know, one of them went on to UL to do clinical psychology, and then psychology and neuroscience, legal psychology, applied psychology, work psychology. But for some of them, what they do, which is what I mentioned, is they might go and get some work experience in a relevant area before they apply to do a master's in clinical psychology. And that's quite normal. But and all of these stats will be, you know, I'm very happy to share them with you afterwards, and it's for every single graduate. But 15 of them went on to do masters in UL, UCD, University of Dundee, Trinity, Maastricht, IT Carlow, DCU. So across the board, so they do gain entry to masters in a range of different colleges and a range of different psychology masters. It is PSI accredited. But for some masters, you do need some practical work experience. So a number of them get work with the likes of Autism Initiatives, Junic Services, Peter McVerry Trust, Focus Ireland, to get that experience on their CV to bump up their application. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. And I have another question for you, which is someone trying to pick your brain about your methods, Caroline, a guidance teacher, wondering how you get feedback from your alumni. And how we know so much about them.
Oh, so what we do, actually, I should have said that, we have a really good response rate. So our response rate, I think overall was about 90%, whereas the national average would be probably in the region of 60%. You know, we have a different model and we know all our students. So, you know, even tonight before I came up, Arab called in a HR job, and I was on the phone to my students who graduated in November to see which of them wanted to go for it. So we're constantly in touch with them. We have mobile numbers, we have email addresses, we follow them on LinkedIn, and it's just, I suppose, hitting the phones in June and seeing where they're all working. and that's how we find out. So it's purely just, I suppose, the slog of hitting the phones and calling them. But we do keep up to date details for them, and we'd be in contact with them constantly. So when they leave in November, we continue working with them proactively until June, the following June. So they finish their exams in April, May, then they graduate in November, and then we keep calling them up until June to see if we can help them get work. So, we'd be in touch with them, I suppose, is my answer.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Caroline, I might send Karen live, because Karen, I can see that there are a few general queries in relation to CAO students starting at NCI. For example, I see there a question about whether or not business marketing degree students can take a language with their subject, and also about contact hours in psychology. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look through some of the questions there, and if you have any general CAO information for people.
So sorry, the first question was about the language. So we don't offer a language, but as you can see, it doesn't stop our students getting jobs, which is brilliant. So it's just not something that we offer as part of our courses. And I suppose I always say that to CAO students, it's about finding a course that suits you best. And I suppose I always say at the end of the day, we go to college, so hopefully we'll get a job when we finish. And that's a real big thing for us at NCI. And I always say that to students, it's not just about coming to NCI to do a course, it's leaving us with a degree, and hopefully we'll have helped you have a job lined up as well. And I suppose for me, working with students and letting them know about the courses, the biggest selling point would be the work placement option that features in a lot of the programs. So with the likes of computing, you'll see the 6 months work placement built into year 3 of all the level 8 courses. And then again, with the likes of the business programs, we obviously have the option of the full year work placement for some of the programs, and a lot of our students would avail of internships as well. And again, other things I probably would highlight as well in regards to the requirements of each of the courses. So we do talk about the BA honours degrees, which are the level 8 programs, and sometimes the fact that you need the higher papers can be a barrier for some students. But for all of the degrees, we do have a higher cert that students can come into and do first, and where they don't require the higher papers and they can progress on. So not only is it about progressing from the level 6 to the level 8 and into a job, it's just to kind of highlight that to students that there's so many different stepping stones to get into a course that you want and a job that you want. So I don't know if I mentioned that at the start, but I just think that was a really important point that I should highlight. And then the second question was
contact hours for psychology students, Karen.
So as far as I'm aware, the students could be in their courses. It depends, each one is different. So I think it could be between maybe, is it 15 hours teaching time, but obviously then you have to allocate time for independent study. But for each of the courses, we can double check that with timetables, and we can let people know. So if they'd like to email me directly for that particular program, or to get like a sample timetable that we would have ran this year for year 1, we can send that on.
Perfect. I'm going to actually, Caroline, I'm going to put you back on the spot for the moment, if that's okay. It's in relation to work placements in 3rd year for the business course. Is it how selective is that, or can all students apply for it?
Okay, so when we first dreamed them up, we said that you had to have a 2-1 to apply for it. But that isn't something that we've enforced. So any student who does the career management skills module and shows us, I suppose, if they don't have a 2-1, that they do have so a 2-1 is 60% plus, that they've got a good, strong work ethic and they're going to take it really seriously, we are very happy to represent them to employers. So last year, anybody, now the numbers weren't huge, but I think it's because it's an elective. It's an elective, and some students just want to get finished with college. I do think as students start to see the impact that work placement year has on the graduate outcomes, I think, and I'll finish my question. I'll finish this point and then I'll go back to answering the question. But what we found this year was the students who'd done a work placement were snapped up in final year, and the ones who didn't do one found it really hard. They had to wait really until all the others had got their offers before they started getting offers. So it's offered to everybody. It is competitive. Like, I couldn't say to a student, I can guarantee you're going to get a work placement, because at the end of the day, the employer has to decide to take on the person. They're all paid. So this year, anybody who wanted a work placement got one, and we placed 19. And last year there was one person who wanted one who didn't get one, and we placed 18. So my hope is this year to try and get double the number of students interested I'd love to place 40 or 50 this year into work placement. So it's not selective, but it's not guaranteed in that they have to pass an interview process with the employers.
Thank you, Caroline. I actually have a question for Karen again now. Karen, a couple of people have asked questions in relation to if you're not applying through traditional CAO or if you're trying to enter directly into second year, how does it work? So I don't know if you want to go through the various alternatives there.
Yeah, so we do have a link, we have several links with number PLC colleges. So this year I have done a lot of virtual talks with individual colleges. So I suppose the main thing is if you are an advanced entry student and you're availing to come in because of the agreements that you have in place, we can allow you to apply directly to the college itself. So maybe just to email me directly, just to let me know, and we can send you on the link, whether it's a business program that you're doing or it's a computing course that you're doing. But if you're just looking to get into year 2 based on previous qualifications, that's a different kind of process. So if you are aware of an advanced entry agreement that is in place with your college, we can send on the links, and we would have done that with your guidance counsellor as well, so we're happy to send them on again. Yeah, and then in regards to another question I've seen came in earlier as well, Teresa, in regards to the QQI requirements. So if you are a level 5 student who has done a level 5 this year, that becomes like a new leaving cert. So if you're applying to the level 8 programs, you need 3 distinctions, a full award, and meet the CAO points requirements. And you can actually go onto the career portal and convert your points. So again, that information is on our website. If you're applying to the level 6, it's 5 passes and a full award, and meet the points requirements, and again convert the points. So again, you can email me directly, karen.campbell@ncrl.ie, and we'll make sure that you get that information in regards to that. And if it is an advanced entry agreement, that's a different process. So you can contact me directly and we'll send you on the links to make sure you have all that.
Thanks, Karen. And I have one more question for you. A couple of people were asking about what other supports are available in the college. I'm going to post a link up now to the main chat about our support services, but I wonder, could you run through those for the questioner?
Yeah, sorry, just want to mute my mic there. Yes, we do have a number of supports in place for our students. So we do have academic supports for students. So maybe if they've never done like a continual assessment before or they're a little bit anxious, they can get help with that. We'd also have like math supports, like extra classes, tutorials. You know, I've seen them take part. They're really, really good. We have library supports. Maybe students never referenced before and they want to get help with that, they can. And we have financial supports. We have the Student Assistance Fund as well for our students. And again, the careers team with all their supports as well. So it depends what the student is looking for, but all that information is on our website under student supports. And again, if you're looking for information regarding all the CAO courses or the application process, whatever it might be, all the information is on our website, or you can email me directly and I can forward you on all the links that you need.
Thanks very much. And I have one last question for you. Just someone has a question in about points and when do you learn what points are required for each course, and generally what are the points at NCI?
Okay, so the points that are advertised are always based on the year previous. So all the points that we are advertising on our website are from the CAO September intake. So they would usually stay around the same mark, and they can go up and they can go down. It all depends on demand for the programme itself. So we always say to students in and around whatever it is that we're advertising, really. So I suppose it depends what course you're thinking about doing. So likes of, you know, business HR, and you know, so you're looking at 300. All of the points will be advertised, and I did see Caroline did have a slide at the start, but we do have an online prospectus, and I recommend for people to go onto that. So what we might do, Teresa, is we might pop in the online prospectus link in the Q&A section for people, and they can actually see the points laid out for each of the courses, rather than me take up the time and list out all of the points for each of the courses, because I'm not too sure which course this person is interested in. So I think that's probably the best thing to do, is just to put the link in for the prospectus, and you can kind of find out more information about the courses, and it will be on our YouTube channel for a virtual talk. It has all the points listed on that as well.
Thanks, Karen. I'm actually going to talk over you for a second, if you don't mind, but you might have more to add to this afterwards. A couple of people are talking about in COVID-y times, which we're all dealing with at the moment. NCI was really quick and responsive in moving online for many of its courses, but generally, if a course is supposed to be on campus. It will return to being on campus once we are out of the current pandemic. We do have some fully online courses, but mostly those would be at postgraduate levels. We don't really have any CEO courses online. We all hope that our next year's first years will be on campus. And if the vaccination program kicks off a little quicker than it currently is, we would definitely hope that is the case. But I don't know, Karen, if you'd like to talk about how our current first years have responded, because we have done surveys of them. Like, we do know they're getting on well and making friends and things like that.
Yeah, I think we've really adjusted. I've been quite fortunate in NCI that we were offering online courses before it was a thing. So we are very lucky like that we were set up to do that. And I find that the feedback that I've heard from staff is that students are doing really well online. And I suppose it's just adjusting to the times that we're in. But yeah, we are hoping to be on campus. And again, really kind of bringing back not just our students, but the student life, and how great it is to be part of clubs and societies, to make friends and to avail of services, to get to know our staff, and so that we can support our students on campus. But because we are a small college, it's been a great transition nearly for students, because they do know their lecturers really, really well, and we would avail of using Teams and having chats. And traditionally you would have your class rep and you'd have your WhatsApp group, and our student union have been very interactive with our students as well, and making sure clubs and societies and events happen online and virtually, so that students can have that student experience and supports in place.
And another question has come in relation to scholarships for CAO students. Are there any scholarships for CAO students?
So in regards to scholarships, we do have a sports scholarship that our students can avail of. For clubs and societies, it depends obviously where students do get involved. And another thing I highlighted, so if you're availing the sports scholarship, the information is on our website, and students can get a bursary for, I think it's up to €2,000 over 3 years. And again, there'll be different things in place. The student assistance fund as well is there for students to avail of. And obviously, because Susie funds all of our courses, students would be eligible to avail of the maintenance part once they meet the criteria. So again, it does depend on the type of student. But yeah, if you want more information about that, we can put you in touch, I suppose, with the people who look after student services and what is available to our students when they come to NCI.
Thanks, Karen. I actually have a question for Nicole briefly. Nicole, if you don't mind coming back on live. It's quite a general question. It's qualities that you look for when you meet with a graduate. What is it that you're looking for when you meet with a graduate?
Yeah, it's a good question. You can hear me okay, Teresa? Yeah. Yeah, I think for us as an employer, and I suppose just bearing in mind every employer is different as to what they look for. One of the biggest things is personality. So bringing something kind of different to the interview or to the network event that you're doing with the employer. So just showing like your actual personality, and maybe if it's a thing that you're maybe on a basketball team or you do something outside of work, bring that to the interview so that you'll be remembered for that particular thing. And I mentioned it earlier, work ethic is huge, and it's a really difficult one to demonstrate in an interview. So they're kind of things that you need to be looking at while the student is actually in college. How can they work on things around their work ethic, flexibility, showing that they're hard working. And for us then, we look for basic things like customer service skills, sales skills, because it is a management program that we run as well. We look for leadership skills. So a couple of different things, but I think the biggest one for me is personality. So, showing that you can actually make conversation with the employer and show who you are and showcase your ability and some of your skills and things that you do outside of work and college as well. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. I have another question now for Caroline. I'm just about to send you live now, Caroline. Have any students completed the business degree and gone on to do project management, PME?
Oh, maybe that's the Masters in Education. Actually, that's Tricia from Revilas. Hi, Miss Burns.
Sorry, I got the initials wrong.
Yeah, do you know, it was a thing a few years ago where a number of them went on to do it, and the last 4 or 5 years, for whatever reason, it isn't a career choice they've made, but they absolutely can. They'd be eligible to teach business. But for the last few years, it's just not something that, now there is actually one student this year who graduated in November 2020, but we won't have data on him for next year, and he's going on, actually he has a place, he's deferred it, but he is going on to do the Masters in Education. But for the last number of years until him, there really hasn't been anyone. But again, sometimes it just, you know, it goes just in, I suppose, waves where people's friends do it and then they start to do it. But the last few years, no. Kieran this year, yes. And years ago, yes, it was quite popular.
Thank you for that. And actually, you know, as somebody working in HR, I'm going to ask you this before I hand it over to Karen. We have a question about how much maths is involved in HR and in the HR course. And I know I'm looking at all the stats you've accumulated today. So I'm presuming that there has to be an element of it in understanding something. So I don't know if you want to talk as someone who works in that area, and then I'll pass it over to Karen for specifically at NCI and the course that requirements.
Yeah. So I suppose from a career side, do you know, every job now involves, I mean, there's an element of just being able to use Excel and things like that, rather than any particular ability to do maths. Now, I don't know, would Nicole have a different insight, but definitely we'd spend an awful lot of our time analysing stuff. That's a really important role. So it'd be more that than maths. Certainly the analysis, we analyse everything. We analyse the impact of everything that we do. So I don't know, would Nicole have more insights into the HR side of it? Is it the same or different?
So what do you think, Nicole? Would you find you use maths an awful lot in your job, or?
So I definitely agree with you, Caroline. And we're the same, like we're a performance-based company. So everything that we do, we're going to analyse to see the impact and see if there's any change that we need to make. But I wouldn't say, like, do you know, like if you weren't good at maths in school, or for me, like when I studied accountancy, I wasn't mad about it, to be honest, but that didn't have an impact on me working as part of a HR team. So I wouldn't let it scare you if you're a student thinking, you know, maths is not my thing, but I want to work in HR. But I do think, like what Caroline said, Excel and analysing data is big in any position, I think, really now. But I think you do, oftentimes you have people that specialise in those areas as well within the company that you can turn to. So for me, I'm not mad about, you know, analysing and stats, and so I do always have someone that I can reach out to rely on to say, right, okay, where am I at with this, and what do I need to change? So I wouldn't say it's huge in my role in HR and recruitment, but and definitely don't let it scare you if you're thinking that it's not your thing.
Oh, Teresa, sorry, I was going to say it's a mute. So in regards to the maths, you do need an 06 or H7 in maths when you're applying to the Level 8 programmes. But if you are coming into the higher cert, we actually take foundation maths as well, as one of the requirements, like if you don't have the ordinary paper, and then you can go from the higher cert, which is the level 6, you can progress on to the HR degree. So instead of doing the 3-year level 8 programme where you need the 06 or H7, you can come into the higher cert, and then you can progress on. So it'll take you 4 years in total to get the level 8 honours degree in human resource management. So yeah, in regards to the maths, and I suppose, again, it's the type of maths, I suppose. When you're doing a degree, it's more practical, as opposed to when you're doing your leaving cert, where, you know, you're doing algebra, or you're doing, you know, sin and cos and tan, and, you know, this kind of thing. So I just don't think it's very as practical. So the things that you would do as part of your business degree would be practical and give you skills for the industry that you're hoping to work in. That's what I probably would say to a student who's thinking about doing a HR degree.
I have one last one for you. It's a quickie. It's somebody transferring straight into second year, just wanting to know, do you need 5 merits? I'd like to end with a HR question, Karen, so it is a quickie.
Yeah, so basically, in regards to someone who's coming into the advanced entry, it depends on the programme itself. So I think the best thing for that person to do would be to contact me directly, so I can see which course you're interested in, to make sure you get the right requirements, that you get the right links so that you can apply, and obviously come to NCI in September. So yeah, so drop me an email and we'll make sure you get all the information that you need.
And now I'm going to go back to Caroline, because a question we have is, what kind of careers do HR graduates tend to go into?
Okay, so most of them tend to go into HR, but like I said, they don't have to. That just seems to be the way that class tend to opt for. But I suppose I'll give you some specific examples, so as that it's relatable. But say two guys went into 888 Spectate, one as a HR advisor and one as a HR and recruitment advisor. One guy went into Autodesk as a HR advisor. An awful lot of HR advisors, then Peninsula as well, which are really interesting. One of them went in there as an employment law consultant, which is really popular. And this year, say, there was one girl who got into the IBEC Industrial Relations Graduate Programme, which again is very, very sought after. And then another guy went into the TATO as a people and culture administrator. Somebody else went into Telefonica. Two of them actually went into Telefonica, which are part of 3 or used to be part of 3 as a learning and development advisor. HR officer in Ryanair. So a range of different kind of roles, but if I'm honest, most of them were HR related. Now, one of them is a financial advisor. Let me think, is there any other ones that weren't HR? One of them went on to be the Students' Union president. One went on to be a sales representative. In the past, actually, Nicole, we would have placed a good few in Enterprise Rent-A-Car with Nicole. So it really varies, but I think about 70% of them tend to stay in HR related roles.
That's perfect. I think I'm just looking at the time now because I'm aware everyone will be trying to get to their dinner. We have 3 minutes left in the event. I want to use it first and foremost to thank Caroline, who's on screen at the moment. Thank you very much, Caroline. I'm also just sending Nicole out to say thank you so much, Nicole. You went above and beyond. No one knows what technical difficulties Nicole overcame to be with us this evening. And I'm going to actually leave the final word of the evening to Karen Campbell, who is our school liaison, because she is the person that any of you guidance counsellors who are out there, or indeed parents with a very specific question, Karen is the person that you will be dealing with.
Yeah, I'd like to just thank everybody for helping out tonight and for everybody that attended as well. And, you know, if there is any follow-up questions at any point throughout the year, you can contact me directly. I'm the school liaison officer, or you can contact us directly through my email, or if you're on social media, you know, tweet us. You know, you can message us on Facebook, whatever channel suits you best, and we'll make sure that you get all the information that you need about National College of Ireland. And hopefully we'll see a number of your students, your children, obviously attending us next year. Yeah, and I suppose I find working in NCI, you know, the staff are so supportive for me and my role, and they are so supportive to the students that come in, and the feedback that I've got has always been so great from guidance counsellors, parents and students who come to NCI, who I meet in the corridor are like, you know, you came to my school or you came to my college, and it's just lovely to see people enjoying their time at NCI. And I know for COVID it is a little bit tough for people moving online, but we all adjust, and we're hoping to welcome students on campus in September, so fingers crossed. So yeah, so thanks for coming on tonight, and we will be sending on the link and information about this event that happened tonight, and a recording as far as I'm aware, for people to watch back. And if you do have any questions that you didn't think of tonight, like I said, you can always contact me directly. So thank you so much for giving up your time this evening to spend it with us.